If you knew that one single sentence could stay in a woman's mind for years, would you still waste your words on "you're hot"? Because the truth most men never realize is this: attraction rarely begins with what she sees. It begins with what she feels when you speak. Let me tell you something many men learn far too late. Words are emotional fingerprints. Once they touch someone's mind, they linger there. Sometimes longer than your face. Sometimes longer than your name. And in certain cases, even longer than the relationship itself. Most men completely misunderstand compliments. They throw them around like loose change. "You're beautiful." "Nice outfit." "You look good." But here's the quiet reality. Women hear those lines all the time. From strangers passing by, from coworkers in the hallway, from men in their messages who barely know them. And when something is heard too often, it stops meaning anything. The mistake men make isn't complimenting women. The mistake is complimenting what everyone else already sees. Appearance is the easiest thing in the world to notice. It requires no effort, no awareness, no curiosity. But when a man notices something specific, something subtle, something that proves he is actually present in the moment, that's when attention turns into intrigue. Picture this moment. You're standing next to her, and instead of rushing to fill the silence, you take a breath and say calmly, "That fragrance you're wearing, it's strangely addictive." Notice the difference. You didn't say she smells nice. You created a feeling around her presence. You connected her scent to an experience. From that moment on, every time she wears that perfume, a small part of her mind may replay that sentence. That's not coincidence. That's psychology. Scent is directly connected to memory and emotion in the brain. Certain smells can instantly bring back entire moments of our lives. A summer night, a hug from someone we once cared about, a memory we thought we forgot. When you acknowledge something like fragrance, you're telling her you're paying attention to details most people overlook. And attention is powerful. Most men are distracted. Their minds jump from one thought to another. But a man who observes quietly, a man who notices subtle things, instantly feels different. Now imagine another moment. She laughs at something you say, and her smile appears naturally. Instead of the predictable compliment, you say something slower, more thoughtful. Your smile changes the entire energy in a room. Do you see what happened there? You didn't compliment her lips. You acknowledged her influence. Every person on this planet wants to know that their presence matters, that they can affect the atmosphere around them, that they bring something meaningful into a space when they walk into it. Most men compliment beauty. Very few recognize impact. But when you do, something shifts inside her mind. Because suddenly she realizes you're not just looking at her, you're experiencing her presence. And that is where attraction quietly begins. There is something deeply human about wanting to be seen for who we really are. Not the version we show the world, not the version shaped by expectations, but the real person underneath all of it. And yet, most people go through life without ever hearing someone acknowledge that part of them. That's why one simple sentence can cut deeper than 100 surface-level compliments. Imagine you're in the middle of a conversation with her. She's talking about something she believes in, maybe an opinion that isn't popular, maybe a story about how she handled a difficult moment in her life. Instead of interrupting or trying to impress her, you listen. Really listen. And then you say quietly, "I like how real you are. You don't seem like someone who tries to fit in." That sentence lands differently. Because authenticity is rare today. People are surrounded by pressure to behave a certain way, to say the right things, to present a polished version of themselves that feels safe for everyone else. Many people slowly learn to hide the parts of themselves that feel different. So when someone recognizes authenticity, it feels like relief. Women hear compliments about their appearance all the time. Beautiful, gorgeous, attractive. But when a man notices something about her character, something about the way she moves through the world, it creates a different kind of emotional connection. You're not complimenting the surface. You're recognizing the person beneath it. And here's the deeper psychological truth. People feel drawn to those who validate their identity. When you acknowledge someone's authenticity, you're telling them that being themselves is not only acceptable, it's admirable. That changes the entire emotional tone of the interaction. Now, let's go even deeper. There is another compliment that most men never think to give, yet it has incredible power when delivered sincerely. It's when you say something like, I really like the way you see the world. It's different, and it actually makes me think. Think about what that communicates. You're not trying to dominate the conversation. You're not trying to prove how smart you are. Instead, you're showing appreciation for her perspective. You're telling her that her mind has value. In a world where conversations often stay shallow, that kind of acknowledgement stands out. Most men focus on how a woman looks when she walks into a room. But when you recognize how she thinks, how she processes life, how she sees meaning in things others overlook, the dynamic shifts. You move from casual attraction into intellectual connection. And intellectual connection creates curiosity. Curiosity leads to deeper conversations. And deeper conversations are where emotional chemistry begins to grow naturally. What makes these compliments powerful isn't clever wording. It's intention. You're noticing something real about her. When someone feels that level of attention, they don't just hear your words. They remember the way those words made them feel. And that memory has a strange way of staying with them long after the conversation ends. There is a compliment that almost nobody talks about, yet when it's said sincerely, it can instantly shift the way a woman sees you. It's not about beauty. It's not about style. It's not even about intelligence. It's about energy. You've felt it before. Some people walk into a room and everything feels heavier. Conversations slow down. The atmosphere becomes tense for no obvious reason. And then there are people who walk in and something changes. The room feels lighter. People relax. Conversations start flowing again. That invisible force is energy. When you look at a woman and say, slowly and sincerely, I like your energy. Being around you actually makes me feel more alive. You're doing something very few men ever do. You're recognizing her presence, not just her appearance. Think about what that communicates. You're telling her that her mood, her spirit, the way she carries herself in the world, it has an effect on you. That her presence doesn't just exist in the room, it influences the room. That kind of recognition touches something deep in a person, because everyone wants to feel like they bring something positive into the lives of others. Not just beauty, not just attraction, but value. Most compliments focus on what someone has. Energy compliments focus on what someone creates. And creation is powerful. Now, let's take it a level deeper. There is another trait that often goes unnoticed, but has enormous emotional weight when someone points it out: thoughtfulness. In a world that moves quickly, where people are distracted and self-focused, thoughtful people stand out quietly. They remember small details. They check in on others. They notice when someone else is having a hard day. But here's the strange thing about thoughtful people: they rarely expect recognition. So when someone finally notices it, the impact is strong. Imagine telling her, you're actually one of the most thoughtful people I've met. You notice things most people completely miss. This kind of compliment reaches beyond attraction. You're acknowledging her character. And character compliments are powerful because they validate the parts of someone that take years to build. Kindness, awareness, emotional intelligence. These aren't surface traits. They're qualities that shape how someone moves through life. When you recognize that, you're showing that you're not just another person reacting to what's easy to see. You're someone paying attention to what's real. And that changes how she experiences you. Suddenly, you're not just another guy trying to impress her. You become someone who understands people. And when a woman feels understood, her guard lowers naturally. She becomes more open, more comfortable, more curious about you in return. Because the rarest feeling in modern life isn't admiration. It's being genuinely seen. And when someone gives you that feeling, your mind doesn't forget it easily. That's when attraction stops being surface level and starts becoming something deeper. There's one final shift that separates a forgettable man from a memorable one, and it has nothing to do with charm, tricks, or rehearsed lines. It comes down to what you choose to admire in another person. Most men admire comfort. Very few admire purpose. When you meet a woman who is focused on building something in her life, her goals, her career, her passions, the things that give her direction, that drive deserves recognition. But here's the interesting part. Driven people rarely hear compliments about their ambition. Most of the attention they receive still circles back to appearance. So imagine the impact when you say something different. You look at her and simply say, "I respect how driven you are." You can tell you have a real sense of purpose. Notice the word there, respect. Attraction might get someone's attention, but respect creates a deeper emotional response. It tells her you're not just noticing her presence, you're recognizing the effort she puts into her life. Driven people wake up early. They sacrifice comfort. They carry responsibilities others don't see. And when someone acknowledges that quietly, it means far more than surface praise. Because now you're speaking to the part of her identity that she has fought to build. But there is one last compliment that reaches even deeper than ambition. It touches something fundamental about how a person interacts with the world around them. Emotional presence. You've probably met people who make conversations feel effortless. You speak with them for 5 minutes and suddenly you feel relaxed, understood, even valued. Not because they tried to impress you, but because they listened. They paid attention. They made space for you to exist comfortably. That is emotional intelligence. And when you tell a woman, you have a way of making people feel comfortable around you, you're recognizing a gift that many people never develop. You're telling her that her presence creates safety. In today's world, where people often feel rushed, judged, or ignored, the ability to make someone feel valued is incredibly powerful. It means she knows how to listen. It means she notices people. It means she cares about connection. And when you recognize that, something important happens. You separate yourself from every man who only focused on how she looked. You become the man who noticed who she is. Now here's the deeper truth I want you to remember. Compliments are not powerful because they sound clever. They are powerful because they reveal awareness. When your words reflect genuine observation, people feel it immediately. And feelings are what people remember. Years from now, a woman may not remember the exact conversation you had. She may not remember what you were wearing or where you were standing, but she will remember how she felt when you spoke. She'll remember that moment when someone looked past the surface and recognized something real about her. And that is the kind of memory that stays. Now I want to ask you something personal. Think about the last conversation you had with a woman you were interested in. Did your words actually reveal that you noticed who she is, or did they only describe what you saw? Tell me honestly in the comments. And if this opened your eyes even a little, press like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a friend who needs to hear it. Because the men who master their words don't just create attraction. They create connection. And connection is what people remember forever.